Hail, hail! The Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? It was just a wee game against the Jam Tarts, and yeah, we managed to come out with it 3-0 winners. Now, I've got to say, well, there's a little pat in the back. That's it. My prediction was 3-1 from the preview show. If you were here on Friday when we went live for that, fist bump to you all, and there will be some good receipts, by the way, in the comment section. Some of you guys were shouting for 3-0s and 4-0s, that sort of thing, and this was a great game to watch. I'm looking forward to catching up with all you guys that join in the live chat. So we'll be live and loud for probably 30, 40 minutes. If you're watching this after we've been live, you'll know how long the show goes on for. And fist bump to you. Thanks for catching the stream after we've been live. Of course, let me know in the comment section your thoughts and feelings, big takeaways, man of the match shouts, whatever it might be in the comment section of the video, and we'll check them out. Obviously, I'd love to hear from the boys and girls all around the world that come to support the channel here on Celts Are Here. And I've got to say, guys, the content has been on fire here the last couple of days in the comment section, the like buttons, all you guys have been smashing it like mad. And, you know, it's been a great week on the channel. So look forward to more content coming out with the scouting series, as well as preparing for the other fixtures and all the other stuff that's going on in the meantime. We are pushing for 18,888 subscribers. We cannot do that without your support. So if you haven't done so already, it is absolutely free. Make sure to hit the subscribe button for more content like this and to support the channel. Sorry, guys. But we had a great game. I was at the game myself, thankfully, and my editor, that normally edits all the content for me, is a Geordie. He's a lifelong Newcastle fan, and if you know what's happening in Newcastle this weekend, there won't be any production happening here for the next couple of days, to say the least. Good to see the Geordies having a good time, but we had some good stuff to get stuck into in this one, and I didn't want the video to wait until like Monday, Tuesday, or whatever to come out, because I thought, hey, let's just jump on live throughout the weekend, and you guys can pop it. You know, you guys can let me know your thoughts and feelings, your hot takeaways from the game as well. And then as the week rolls on, we can move on with everything else Celtic as we do. But yeah, if you are joining us live and loud, make sure to hit the like button, of course. Get into the live chat, let me know your big takeaways and feelings. We had quite and again, I've got an unshakable case of hat here, guys. I'm really sorry about that as well. I see I've been out and about today. Braving the elements. But this was a game that, you know, there wasn't really too many surprises from like the surface level here, right? Nawrocki is the big one that we'll talk about, or Irocky as I'm calling him. And this one, in terms of a surprise to the starting 11, we had Paulo Bernardo doing the player press conference pre-match. So we knew PB was going to be back in the picture and back in the squad for this game, and as well as James Forrest, who we've seen a bit of a return for. But really, Nawrocki was the only surprise in the team, the only kind of talking point, I suppose, in terms of like, why did Trusty not play? I was at the game. Trusty warmed up, was on the bench and stuff like that, but you know, he was running about with everyone else. Didn't seem to be out of sorts or anything like that. So we can talk about that as we go on. I'll give you my POV from being at the game, what I thought Nawrocki did okay at, good, bad, and different, whatever else it might be. But yeah, we got Kuhn, and you know, this was a weird one, right? But I didn't really talk about this on the preview show. I don't know if I'd really caught a lot of it, but the more kind of Celtic fan media I watched over maybe the back end of Friday into Saturday today, I heard a fair amount of people talking about wanting Yang to play. I was just like, why? Like, and this is the home of Yang Gang, you know. So it's not as if I'm a hater or anything like that, you know. But I just found that weird. But we got Kuhn, we got Daizen, we got Jota, we got the front three of nightmares for opposition defenses. And the hails are flying in, guys. Love to see it in the chat, of course. So that was all good and well to see. Now, Hearts, we thought were going to be very predictable coming into this. Brendan Rodgers even said it in the pre-match press conference that under the new manager, they've had a good run of form and they've went to a diamond. Now, I've also had to wait for the match to play out and look at some bits and pieces on my journey home just to see what the difference was, because I'm not that up on Hearts. I could tell there was a difference in shape, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the difference in personnel, I couldn't quite work out who the odd one out was here. If it was like, I could tell that there was no Spittle in the team and one or two others, but as we'll talk about, they actually had a bit of a change of shape here. I thought this was maybe a bit more of a broken diamond at first, but it turns out that, you know, watching the game in its entirety and how the subs rolled on, etc., it was just actually a different formation, a different tactic altogether that was, you know, quite fluid in the match. And you know that this is probably one of the best places to start off with on this game is the shape Hearts had, because like there's a lot been made about, or not a lot, but one of the things that's featured in the breakdown of the first half, I think, is the press from Hearts, as it were. And you know, like, but we see this system like I've been saying with the Rangers result and whatever, we see this system with St Mirren, we see it with Motherwell, Dundee are pretty fit. Oh, Dundee, by the way, guys, on that note, we will maybe have a wee bit of let's laugh at them on this, by the way, because as we're live at the moment, it's 75 minutes. 75 minutes up at Dens Park, and it's 3-1 to not to the baddies anyway. So we may have a wee bit of that while we're on going for it. But the thing with this system, right, is it's not really that press intensive, where it's not like when we press a team, we are like actually trying to win the ball with like significant amount of bodies. Whereas this tactic that Rangers used against us, Hearts did today, and we've seen other teams in Scotland have some success with, is it's not so much about the press as much. Now, don't get me wrong, Kabungu, not really Shankland, maybe a wee bit Wilson. Like when we had the ball like deep, they were happy to go fight for it and put some pressure on, right? Pressure, right? They were happy enough to do that. But the main thing with this system that teams like to use against us is it's more about stifling the pitch. It's more about cutting off passing lanes predominantly. But so much of what Hearts is doing in this system, and what so many players and so many of these other teams are doing when they're deploying this system, is they're kind of working on a job and a half principle. Where, yeah, they're like the defense, so the back three have kind of got one job, but a lot of these other players are all doing like a job and a half. So they quite quickly can change position, and that is a lot of work, and that is like repositioning and realigning with your teammates, as well as being in relation to the ball and all the rest of it. So like Hearts did really good at doing that in the first half. I thought Kabungu was really clever. Like the ref, what's his name, Clancy, was an absolute nightmare. Now, in the early portions of the game, right, because like I think we expected Hearts to play a diamond, so we maybe had done some prep around working around that. But the change they made, essentially, they just dropped the back end of the diamond off and made it a free at the back. Okay, and that should have gave us more space. It actually should have helped us a lot more in the first half than what it actually did. The reason it really didn't in the first half, especially, is their fullbacks were being, I don't want to say rule breakers or cheat codes or anything like that, but they were like not doing what you would have expected, essentially. Penrice was like almost like left wing. Didn't really get on the ball too much, it must be said, but off the ball, this gives AJ a real problem here, especially if the pitch is getting dragged across to the right-hand side, which it often did in the opening stages of the game. But Kabungu is essentially working between these three positions here. You've got Penrice working on Alistair Johnson and covering against Nicolas Kuhn. You've got Beningame working between a few different people. Same with Devlin and Shankland. Like, I'm not a Shankland fan necessarily, but to be fair to him, he put in like a really smart game in this one. Like in the first half, he was a midfielder, and he'd be on the left, he'd be on the right, he'd be kind of keeping that free midfield with him and the other two boys kind of together, and made it hard for Celtic to play out with in periods. So Shankland's kind of covering out into these wide areas here as an auxiliary player, as well as centrally being just like, like the qualities you have with a striker. He's big, he's strong, he's hard to push off the ball, that kind of stuff. So, and with Wilson, Wilson at times looked like a winger positionally. He was rather wide and trying to catch Sloop Dog out of position here, but again would come inside, and equally Kabungu was working on a few different shifts here. So Hearts worked really hard, right, off the ball. They don't get me wrong on that, but it's not like they're sending Kabungu, Wilson, Shankland, and like these guys right into our faces to go and try and win the ball in like the top 20 yards of the pitch or whatever. It's more about a few guys just activating Celtic, making us pass the ball around, and then looking for those errors, playing the bit of chaos ball, as it were. We'll get some of the hails up on screen. Thanks to everyone that's joining us live, by the way. And, I thought Celtic, this is one of the problems we've kind of had domestically against some situations, is that it takes us a while to kind of click and figure out where the space is moved to, because space doesn't disappear in football, it just moves. And I thought the solutions that we came up with to get out of this were absolutely fantastic. One of the most notable things in the first half that I thought helped Hearts look better was the fact that Engels was like the highest midfielder all the way through the first half. Normally that's been Hatate. Previously it's been O'Reilly or Hatate, Moy, Rogic. There's been a few different guys over the last 5 years do that kind of job, but it was firmly Engels in the first half today, and I think that was with the intention of them having that diamond and Engels to try and play off either side of them. But I think once the team kind of clicked into gear and realised that this was the way they were kind of shaped up, more of a 5 at the back rather than the diamond shape, and where the space was, is when the midfield really clicked into gear. It was quite noticeable that Engels was like the highest up midfielder of the lot, because normally it's Hatate. And when you look at Hatate in this game, and lots of the first half, McGregor would still be the deepest of the three, don't get me wrong, but Hatate in the first half was never too far away. And this was one of the changes that we mentioned in the breakdown to one of the matches recently. I think it might have been the game without McGregor. The Derby match where we had to swap roles with McKeown in the second half, and Reo looked a lot better second half. In the first half, it was much more of that job, and really that's where the opening comes for the first goal, because one of the things we're always crying out for McGregor to do on this channel is travel more, is get around the pitch, is like attack the space, rotate with other players, and not just like metronome, move the ball left to right, move and push and pull the rest of his teammates around, but actually like, grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And Rodgers highlighted it in his post-match press conference as well. But Hatate drops into a deep position to try and help out. The ball ends up with Schlupp. And then just the way the play goes, space opens up. And like I say, space doesn't disappear. It just moves. McGregor sees it. He gets into the spot here. And the pass that he plays for Daizen to open the scoring. And Daizen's finish was a proper R2 and shoot, if you depending on your generation, right into the bottom corner past Gordon. It was a great goal to get the scoring opened, and that kind of cut and thrust. Normally, like, don't get me wrong, McGregor, we've seen him do that before like a million times at Celtic, but in Rodgers' version 2, that's not really been a main feature of like an ever-present thing. Now, by the time he got the assist, that was maybe the second or third time that kind of thing had happened, where there was a bit of rotation. Engels would come maybe a bit deeper at times, don't get me wrong, but he was the highest of the three. But he'd maybe come a bit deeper, and you would see there was much more of a circular kind of rotation happening around with the midfield. Like if Hatate would go higher up, you'd have probably found Engels and McGregor in this kind of spot here. And when they were playing out from the back, they were doing much better at just cycling around into different spaces. And with there now only being Birmingham and Devlin to kind of negotiate around in the midfield, I know Shanklin's in here, but once the ball starts moving, he's kind of out of the equation. He's not that pure engine, mega pressing, attacking midfielder type player. He's just that kind of, like I mentioned before, big imposing kind of guy in the middle of the pitch. So once you've moved the ball around a little bit, there's just two guys to get around rather than there being a third one in here in defensive midfield that you then need to worry about. And, again, I thought Hearts did quite well. Did anyone really stand out? I thought Penrice was right in front of me in the first half, so I was having a wee look at him, obviously, after the scouting video that we did on the channel a few days ago. But with Penrice being so high and Forrester, the way Forrester was more right backish, and if the ball did turn over and we won it, Hearts, you would have been forgiven for thinking they were at a back four, especially when it was 0-0, when the game was, or maybe 1-0 even at that point still. But it looked more of a 4 at the back whenever we would counter-attack and try and get back at them. But eventually, like, you would see Penrice coming back in, and you did feel that there was a real like we spoke about it in the previous show, that if they were playing the diamond, it would be like Alistair Johnson's vacated space in this spot here that they would look to try and break into with a Grant or a Spittle, players that we've seen in the second half when the game was gone. And Kabungu was trying to live in this little space as well. And I got the feeling that Wilson was also trying to live in this sort of space and try and attack these areas if the positions ever opened up. But it didn't really work out. The ref gave so many fouls for Kabungu, or against Carter Vickers in favour of Kabungu so many times in the first half. It was absolutely criminal. And, I thought he did a really good job, Kabungu, of being like quite a clever striker in this, because he really got the better of Vickers in terms of the refereeing decisions for about 5 or 6 occasions across the first half. And then for must have been still when the game was kind of in the balance still, maybe 0-0 or 1-0. But Kabungu then moved over to Alistair Johnson. And, that just gave a real different problem on this side of the pitch. It didn't really ever kind of come to bite us in the bum. But, yeah, I thought Hearts brought a really interesting attempt at trying to beat us in this game. As the game wore on, especially as we started scoring goals, it just became the usual defence versus attack thing that we normally see at Celtic Park or even on the road. But I think, how they started the game, certainly how they tried to approach this match, and the way they tried to use their team, like, it was quite commendable, quite interesting. And, I said to the guy sitting next to me that this game was really, the first goal was the most decisive thing that happened in the match, because if Hearts got the first goal, the way the game went, like, it would have been a completely different match. I'm not saying we wouldn't have won or we wouldn't have scored as many or whatever. Jesus Christ, guys, I've just looked at my other screen. It's 84 minutes in. It's 3 each. Jesus Christ. Ah, never hate watch them. Never hate watch them. Never make fun of them until it's over. Always bites you in the bum. Anywho, the second goal, who got the second? It was Jota's goal was second, wasn't it? And Jota's goal I thought was lovely. Hatate did so well in this game. Like Hatate, like honestly, like I know he divides some of the fans, and some fans I don't get it for the most part. Like again, in this game, he did so much right at making the team tick, where he's winning the ball back, he's playing good balls from deep, he's getting up and supporting the attack as well. In the final third, I don't think he was ever like found. I don't think anyone ever really laid him on. I think he had one shot that he ballooned over, maybe out from a corner or something like that. Yeah, you cannot hate. You cannot hate watch them. You can't. I done it as well, mate. We're all compounding the jinx in together as Celtic fans. That's why it happens, because so many of us do it. You know, we cannot do it. We need to resist. We need to resist temptation. We need to wait until the final whistle goes, then we point and laugh. You know. But Tati, I thought was brilliant in this, and I think he was a big part of, because the ball from him. Is it the ball from him that Daizen flicks on, or is it? I've not watched highlights or anything back. I've literally came straight from the game, but it's either Hatate plays the ball in for Daizen's header, or Hatate switches the ball great for Kuhn, and then Kuhn plays it in. I think it is Kuhn that plays it in for that one. Yeah, and I think it comes off the back of Hatate into here, and then gets played into Kuhn. Kuhn then lofts a cheeky ball into this zone here, and Daizen Maeda's giving it one of the kind of salmon ones, you know, trying to just flick it in. Gordon, to his credit, makes a decent save, and Jota's there for the tap in, and he came in, you know, he gave us a set right in front of me. I was sitting like right there in the pitch or the stadium, which was great. And you know, when this goal happened, let's see when Kuhn plays the ball and Daizen and Jota both break the offside trap. That was like just like the first goal, but that was like our only way into this game, really, was breaking the offside trap. And that was something that Hearts brought upon themselves, because as much as I'm saying this isn't like a press as such, it's more like, the way I think about this tactic is it's more like an MMA thing, you know, like where it's like jiu-jitsu and, you know, different positions. It's like, if I'm in this position, yeah, you can maybe beat me, but if you make a wrong move, then I'm going to break your arm or something. You know, it's more that kind of thing where you're like poised and coiled and like ready for whatever happens to then react and do your best with it from there. And I couldn't believe that we got off the offside trap in this one. And, you know, great effort from Daizen. Unlucky not to get the finish. Jota's there to make sure of it. But as I'm even saying this as well, I remember watching the warm-up intently. It's one of the things I love about getting to the match early and on time and all the rest of it. And in the build-up, like in terms of the warm-up, these four guys were all doing all the box stuff and all the passing and whatever. And when it came to like shooting and finishing, it was Daizen and Jota that were like doing all that stuff extra. And that goal, the way that happened, and like we didn't really put Jota on the ball. He got on the ball and stuff, you know, but we didn't like force the play down the left that often. Would I say we necessarily forced it down any wing in terms of like focused, like, oh, we'll give it to AJ and we'll Kuhn and whatever. Yeah, I think Kuhn maybe got put on the ball a little bit more than Jota, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was really wide play is really what we were trying for. It was more kind of incisive play, trying to catch space and behind this two-man midfield of Bellingham and Devlin, which, you know, they put in a good enough shift for it, didn't they? I suppose. But off the ball Hearts, when they were doing this kind of like poised, you know, prey mantis kind of position or whatever, the manager was like telling their back three, like, get up the pitch, you know. And I get the idea. You want to try and you want to kill us with an offside trap, but like you're giving us all that space to play into. You're crushing all the space in here by cutting off all the passing lanes, and you're giving our three best players half the pitch to play in against Craig Gordon, who is not going to come to the edge of the box to sweep stuff up. And I was quite surprised at that. It really gave us our first two goals in the match. And really, once we went 2-0, you know, Hearts' threat, like, threat, motivation for the match was basically gone. And for the third goal, I forget how it totally played out, but we had Kuhn zipping down the right here, and of course he just squares it across the box for Daizen to finish it. And I think, was it Hatate that maybe played that ball, or was it Engels? Maybe even McGregor. I'm not too sure. I need to watch it back. But again, getting down the line and Daizen just being that fox in the box, keeping up with the play, and absolutely smashed it. So I thought, you know, that the wide players weren't, you know, like wingery. We weren't getting like Kuhn on the ball in this position here and getting him to dart in. Kuhn normally when we got on the ball was maybe a bit higher up the pitch and then was coming back into this zone here to then maybe try and, like the second goal, the way that kind of get created for Daizen, do that sort of thing. And I say with Jota, I think Jota was quite wide, but for the most part, it was more in this kind of zone is where we see him be most active in the first half, certainly. I don't really think Arne Engels did that much in this game, particularly in the first match. And I say that's just the number one criticism I have for him sometimes. Is just like, it didn't really do much, Like, it wasn't bad, didn't let anyone down, didn't not put a shift in. But even as I'm casting my mind back to the game, like, I don't remember Engels doing anything of real significance in this match. But I did think that Hatate and McGregor did a great job. McGregor also is buzzing being back on the pitch again and like pulling everyone around and talking players through the pitch and through the game. And Nawrocki is, we'll get on to Nawrocki now because he was a surprise in the starting 11. And again, like I said this with the Derby match recently, I'll say it again, like Nawrocki, Trusty, Scales, like really when you absolutely boil it down, there's nothing between them, really. They've all got pros and cons in almost equal measure and very similar things in some cases and in complete opposite ways sometimes as well. And, I find it frustrating listening to the aftermath of the Derby match where people are saying that Nawrocki can't he pass and stuff like that. And the thing with Nawrocki, if you remember when he actually signed for us and he actually played, I know it's not been this season, it was a while ago, the number one thing everyone said is, oh, he's a passer. He's the best passer of the ball we have in defence. And all of a sudden, everyone's acting like that didn't happen and like he can't pass the ball. He's right-footed. He's on the left-hand side. And the Derby match, lots of pressure on, did very well. Scales-esque, I said, in terms of like winning his duels, winning his headers. No one mugged him off, didn't make any mistakes, held his own. And this match was quite similar, but there was much more of an onus of putting him on the ball over Carter Vickers, like we often mention on the channel. Carter Vickers is going to give you that level one, that basic level kind of passing of circulating the ball around. But we always need someone from the centre-back position that can take a couple of yards or that can play that pass a bit higher and a bit more incisive into the pitch. And Nawrocki was the go-to guy in this game. Make no mistake about it. And, like for the first half, Celtic were shooting like, I'm sitting basically where Kuhn is here, but in the stands, obviously. So in the first half, when they were attacking down here, like I can't, with my hand on my heart and say I know everything he'd done in this game. And yeah, there might have been a wee 50-50, maybe somebody wriggled away from him or something like that. But genuinely, I think he was great in the game. He did his job very well. He got put on the ball often. And as I'm actually thinking about something, I haven't mentioned Sinisalo even in passing yet. So we'll talk about him as well, of course. But I think Nawrocki did his self no harm. But make no mistake about it. This the Derby match is one thing. Maybe that was necessity. This is shop window for Nawrocki, quite simply. Like we spent £4 million on him. And, there's a wee bit of me that thinks, is it maybe Lager BLK and Burnaby syndrome, where they've looked at those two guys, done so great and sold them for money, and they're looking at Nawrocki and thinking, you might do the same thing. We might loan you out somewhere and you might be amazing. Maybe we give him a try. There's a part of me that thinks that's going on, right? But the rest of me thinks this is just shop window. He's not played all season. He's probably had some sort of gentleman's agreement that he'll get 3 or 4 matches across the season guaranteed to help facilitate his future, essentially. And the Derby is a great match for a highlight package. This is a good game as well. A top opponent, asked a lot of questions, and he get put on the ball a lot. He didn't really drive up the pitch, but like we see Scales do, or anyone who's better at that historically that we've had. But he definitely felt that Nawrocki had much more willingness and ability to smash a ball into Hatate here, or Engels, or up the line here to Schlipp. Not really Jota. I'm not sure if you've ever connected with Jota, maybe on the counter attack or on a quick transition, perhaps. But he did good at being that ball playing centre back out of the two. I thought he carried his weight pretty well. And I think, like, I'll mention Sinisalo, because Sinisalo I was watching with eager intent. And I must admit, when I was watching the warm-up again, like the goalies were all doing their thing. Sinisalo, Bain, and I'm guessing one of the guys from the youth team. And Sinisalo finished his warm-up like 10 minutes before everyone else. And I found that weird. He didn't stay out to take the shots from the players and whatever. Maybe that's not the thing for the first team goalkeeper. Fair enough. Maybe, what do I know? I don't really pay attention to what Schmeichel does to that kind of same forensic level or whatever. So maybe I'm reading a bit much into it. I thought, that's a bit sus. I wasn't sure. Surely you want to be fully warmed up before the game. And, he wasn't as assured as Schmeichel was being, certainly. But, he was a great goalkeeper in this game. Like, he was very active at communicating with the rest of the team. He didn't shirk any responsibility for the most part. And again, like, I'm told he's made some amazing saves. I was at the opposite end of the stadium. I can tell they happened, but I didn't have a great point of view on them. So it's brilliant to hear that he's made some great saves. And I could tell there was some goal mouth action in those periods. I think they came from corners and stuff like that. Some of his kicking, but did let us down a bit in the first half because, like, he would like sometimes just invite a little bit too much pressure. Like we would just about let the guy almost tackle him before just going out and getting the ball into the other half. And we were just never anywhere near getting on the end of it. They were collecting it, and then they would have possession to build and go again. And that was one of the main things because of the way they'd set up with their wide players, especially. Sinisalo kind of helped them have a little bit more of the ball, helped them have a little bit more of an ability to have like a foothold in the game in the first half. Like think, okay, well, if we score the first goal, we're into this. That's not to really have a criticism at him more than well, it's not a positive, is it? But something he needs to work on is just that if he's going to be doing those long ones, trying to get an assist or something, try to set somebody off. He needs to be aiming for somebody, not just hitting space. And second of all, does he need to let people really get into his shadow before he passes the ball? I don't know. Good saves for the most part. And as I say, like pass marks, I think the interesting thing about Sinisalo, oh my God, they've done it 96 minutes. Jesus, Jimmy's 93rd minute, they scored it. Don't you know it? They always get enough time, don't they? They always get enough time. But yeah, I thought he did okay. The interesting thing about it is it'll be interesting to see him over a few matches. Seeing him at home. And, when I seen Trusty was on the bench and in quite good nick, I was a wee bit annoyed at, like, why playing Nawrocki when Sinisalo's getting his debut here? And, like, surely put the best defence in front of him, give him the best chance at that clean sheet. But, yeah, whatever. It's done now, isn't it? And the clean sheet was earned all the same. And it's a good clean sheet for Nawrocki, as well as Sinisalo and the rest of the defence. Jeffrey Schlupp in this game, like I had like 3 chances in the first half where he maybe was putting Hearts on the back foot and travelling further up the pitch. And Jesus, man, is he one of the most indecisive or slow to react players I've seen? Now, this isn't to like get on at him or anything like that, because like he's a solid 6 out of 10 in this game. And he was great against Bayern. He's been kind of okay every other time. But like I said, against after, I don't know what match it was. It might have been the derby, but I'm not convinced this is the backup for Tierney we want, really. Like, he's great to come in for 6 months and show up the ship. He'll get some medals. And, yeah, fair play to him for coming up and doing well. But especially from what I've seen in this game, like, he should have created a goal in this game. Either a shot for himself. He kind of got lucky, didn't he? Because he kind of stumbled into the box at one point. It took him so long to decide. They then kind of tackled him, but then he didn't let them tackle him. And then he kind of got into this spot here, got a wee shot away. Gordon saved it. But like there was 1 or 2 times where like that happened. Maybe even that same chance, he should have set Jota free, or he had somebody coming in on the inside. And he just hesitated. That's probably the best way of putting it. He's just hesitant. And yeah, the opportunity missed, I think. For Schlupp and for Celtic in that regard. And Daizen was fantastic at being a striker in this game. Pressed like mad, ended up kind of everywhere you would expect to see him. Doesn't really got in the ball too much. And I think that really further highlights the difference between him and Kyogo. Like, Kyogo's played 1,000 matches just like this one. And like, I don't know if he'd have scored on this one. I know people get annoyed when you bring up former players and this kind of stuff, but it's relative enough in terms of comparison. It's not exactly ancient history, is it? It's very similar play style, similar type of game. So I thought like Daizen is really showing the cutting edge, the difference that he gives the team. And if the rumours are to believe that, and it sounds like they are from Brendan Rodgers' comments, is that he's going to be offered a new deal, and he's well earned it, by the way. He has well earned it. Chat's flying away. Ryan, good to see you, my man. Just came from the Boise bus. Oh, brilliant. I didn't catch it today myself. Calmac had a decent attempt in the second half. If it were a yard quicker, it'd have definitely been a lovely goal. Yes, he did. You're right there. Quinny, do you not think Kuhn is a wee bit one-dimensional? So Brown Warrior, that's a good point, right? Yes, he is, I would say, but I think the problem with that, right, is that what was quite obvious to me from when Kuhn first signed is that he can beat a man. Like he can beat one person, no problem. He can take them out of the game, and they know what he does as well as we do. The problem with Kuhn maybe is the second man, or even if a third man is getting involved, is where it then being that predictable is very easy to then deal with. But as I say, 1v1 is still really hard to stop. And if he can be one-on-one with people, it's not really going to be much of a hindrance. And, confidence breeds success, and confidence is the main, what's the way of putting this? Confidence is it's the main kind of ingredient that moves football players forward in their ability and in their career. And I think Jota is a pretty good example of that from what we've seen this year. I know he's played predominantly on the left here, but as you know, with some of the games we've played, Daizen has owned the left-hand side of the pitch. And if we want Daizen on the left, Jota has went to the right. Now, rewind to Jota's first stint at Celtic, it was a role reversal. If we were putting Jota on the left, which Jota had no other versatility really, other than playing on the right, but he was better on the left, quite clearly better on the left. And it was a case of, well, Daizen, you're going over to that side. And Jota, and again, I know he played on the left in this way as well, right? But see when he's played on the right for us since returning, he's looked fantastic. He's looked really good on the right-hand side. And a bit of that I put down to confidence, being back in this familiar environment, being back at home kind of style. So with Nicolas Kuhn, I don't worry that he seems or appears to be one-dimensional at this point here. Because again, we've seen him, he cuts back into this zone here, loves to float across in, right? We know that. He likes to play the overlap with Alistair Johnson. He does like taking a man on and getting into this area here and then popping one up. He's got moves. He just needs to develop one or two more. And yeah, I'm not too worried about it being a one-trick pony element. My kind of measure for this is Paddy Roberts, because for me, Paddy Roberts had no bother taking out two men. If you think about dribbling ability and chance creation, Paddy Roberts they had to put three men around Paddy Roberts to stop him. That was how good he could be. And I think Kuhn's good 1v1. That's not really going to end. That's not really going to be much of a problem, especially if we can get in situations where he's one-on-one with awkward players, in a back three and stuff like that. It's just going to be far more clinical. So I'm not really that worried about it, because what helps him become better or more versatile as well is the rest of the team kind of carrying their weight or giving him something else to do. Because when we're putting him on the ball all the time to be maybe the one-trick pony, he gets a few chances of doing it. The opposition get the measure of it, and then it becomes less effective as the match goes on. But if we can spend 20 minutes on this side of the pitch with Jota, that opens up other potential. Because you think about Kuhn when he was becoming Player of the Year elect, maybe not so now, Jota wasn't in the team. Yeah, sure, Daizen was on the left, Kyogo was through the middle, but Kuhn was carrying the team on chance creation and scoring goals and making assists, making stuff out of nothing where no one else was. So I'm really interested to see that situation develop next year, because when you've got that multi-threat, that there's no obvious route Celtic will go down, especially with Tierney at left back and Alistair Johnson at right. There'll be no obvious side of the pitch that we're going to lean on, and then that just means there could be growth. So yeah, maybe he is a bit one-dimensional, but I'm not worried about it, and I don't think that will. I think as time goes on, you'll maybe come to agree with me. Engels was excellent. I was at the game. I've not watched highlights back or anything like that. I just don't really remember him really. I'm not saying it was bad or anything like that. I'd probably give him a solid 6, 6.5, 7. He got around the pitch, he passed the ball, but I don't remember him really really owning the game too much. I say, Trish, I was at the game. You sit when you sit, not watched the stuff back, not had opinion. I've not had other people's breakdown and analysis fed to me yet, so I'm kind of giving you this raw, as it were, Trish. I thought it looked more comfortable than I was expecting. Is this Sinisalo? Yeah, he was super comfortable, wasn't he? And Brendan called him very confident. He's a confident young man and all the rest of it. We'll talk about the second half and the subs in a wee second, Brent Warrior. I see you mentioning that. And I think it's all down to confidence. Yeah, I'm with you there as well. Next scouting. So I'm thinking Germany is what we'll maybe do on Wednesday for the scouting show. I'm kind of open to suggestions. I kind of like to do this. The France one was dead easy because we just done that. We just had that link to Girassi, and it was just quite easy to get my teeth into that. And that's kind of the way I want to do them. Is whatever I'm kind of up for, kind of really getting stuck into, because there's nothing worse than forcing yourself to do stuff And there is tons of places for us to look. The J League is really high on the request list, of course, as well as a few other ones. And thanks very much, Ryan. Glad you've been enjoying them. And every Wednesday at 5, we're planning on running them out for. And yeah, there's maybe a wee bit of teams forcing them inside a little bit. I think what forces them inside more is if it doesn't have the overlap, and kind of as well when he does have the overlap, he can't really go there anyway. So yeah, he is kind of forced, isn't he, by hook or by crook, whether it be through us or through them, So yeah, probably a little bit of that. There's not many more options for him to exercise, but his delivery is wicked from here. Like it really is. Like he's got a really good up and down chippy pass on him, doesn't he? But I think if there's anything else from the first half, I really wanted to kind of make sure we put into the breakdown of it. I say, but Beningame and Devlin, I thought were a nice little kind of like platform, nice wee kind of 2-man effort. I thought their defense organised themselves into a 4, a 5, a 3 throughout the game pretty well. And when it went 3-0 at half time, I was quite, part of the thing with Celtic is it's never often a game of two halves in the sense of like if we score 3 in the first half, we score like something like that in the second half. Of course, we scored no goals in the second half, and that's been quite a theme, hasn't it? So at halftime, I was like not nervous for that, but I was like, I'd probably say I was more hopeful that wouldn't be the day where we're going to have. I thought Daizen was on for a hat trick, and I thought somebody like Kuhn, Hatate, Engels, somebody else could have got in on the act. McGregor did have a good chance as well. Someone mentioned in the comment section that if it was just a little bit, quicker, it could have came off. Agreed. Schlupp had a wee kind of chance we mentioned as well, of course. But when it came to halftime, was it halftime they made their sub? We'll have ratings to go through. Yeah, it was halftime. They put on. Oh, was that guy number 8? Is that his name? Neuenhoff. Is that? Where is he? Yeah, number 8. Yeah, I thought that guy was actually pretty good. Just need to copy and paste his name. I just seen he was number 8 for them. I had no idea who he was. He's Australian. He looked like a good player. 2 seconds. Yeah, so halftime they brought off Wilson for this guy. And then it was very much more let me just get rid of that first space. There we go. A 3-man midfield, and he was a little bit the deeper one of the lot, and he was trying to kind of do the McGregor role, I suppose, in terms of like play out from the back or whatever. And that just pushed Shankland and Kabungu to be in the 2. And really, Hearts were kind of done at this point. It became much more of a 5. And then when they had this kind of 3-man shield in front of the back line, for me, the second half, like, yeah, there was some chances, but not really that much materialized from it. Again, like we probably looked better second half. Like we probably looked like we were in less danger. Like Hearts just offered, I don't think, anything second half in terms of the same threat that they did in the second half. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they gave up the ghost or they weren't still trying or anything like that, but it wasn't the same kind of threat. We firmly had 2 hands on the wheel, and it was kind of indicated by when we took off Calum McGregor on 64 minutes. It was kind of job done, shift over, and we get the return of Bernardo. Now, one of the things I was happy to see, I guess, with this is that Bernardo come straight into the McGregor role. There was no like dicking about with, oh, we'll put you up here and put Engels in here and all that crap. It was like, don't get me wrong, like Engels and Hatate did kind of shore up a bit. The midfield became a bit more flat. It's kind of because they had a midfield 3 as well, so it's kind of facing up, and then the turnover is a kind of midfield 3-on-3 situation. And yeah, Bernardo would follow the play up and he would do stuff, but it was very firmly in between and in front of the back 2. And yeah, just helped give us an extra kind of little shield and get against any counter attack, because as much as like they were in our half a fair bit in the first half, their centre backs got high, put all the space between their defence and their goalkeeper. In the second half, all the space was between our defence and goalkeeper. And that was like the few little opportunities they had in this second half was them like getting one-on-one with Johnson, with Vickers, with Nawrocki, and they got some fucking free kicks and all the rest of it. Especially, I think I'm remembering this a wee bit upside down, but some of it was first half. I'm just remembering my point of view on it. Yeah, all the space went back here. So then that just means our midfield has just got less space in between the lines to play. So it felt a little bit more like they were kind of in tandem a bit more. And there was a bit of that, but Bernardo was not getting in front of them at any point. He was staying in between the centre-backs. and given Engels didn't really venture too much more second half. It was more Hatate. He was more really trying to get himself involved in an assist or a goal or something like this. We then on the 70th minute, they took off Beningabe for Cartum. Don't really remember any kind of contribution from Cartum. What number did he wear? 27. Yeah, I don't really remember anything from him. And we brought on Ida for Maeda at this point. And I was a wee bit gutted by this, to be honest with you. What time was this? 71 minutes. I thought, Daizen's on a hat-trick, man. Take off Jota. Put Maeda on the left, Maeda's on for a hat-trick, man. Keep him going. But Big Ida come on at 71 minutes. They made a change. Oh, they made 2 changes. Yeah, I was thinking that. Grant for Shankland. And Grant, it's much more of that midfielder. Can I type? And then it's kind of reverting more into this kind of thing, isn't it? Of Kabungu. And then the last, so 72 minutes, we get Yang for Kuhn, which kind of shakes up the team a little bit back. That's what we said in the preview. It's good that we had the ability to really change the entire front line. We had 2 midfield subs potentially to use as well as like a whole backup defense, essentially, especially when Nawrocki actually playing. You look at Trusty on the bench. Lots of options, no matter how this game went and shook out. And Yang, again, not really much kind of happened for him. Ida had a few chances to make a mark on this match. He had one counter attack where he was sent out quite wide. And again, I just think poor decision making, not a good team player in that sense. Where if you look at the scouting show we did the other day, we were talking about Mattis Albine or Albine. And if you put him in the spots that we had Ida in today, we're scoring a couple of goals. There's just no two ways about it. And that's the one thing with Ida that, I like Adam Ida. I'm really glad we signed him. He's been a good striker for us. There's just better ways to spend 9 million, number one. And number two, it's disappointing that chance create, build up play stuff, it doesn't come a bit more naturally to him, or we've not seen enough of it. His best moments are running at a keeper one-on-one, or the ball comes to him, he can be big and strong. Think about the Aston Villa goal, he can use his strength and he can just manage to get the shot away, awkward angles and that kind of stuff. But especially in these situations, we need somebody who can just play a bit more ball, and it felt quite second stringy as these subs started to come on. But Hearts were doing the same thing essentially, and I don't think it was really. I don't really think the balance of the game was really going to change too much. Damage limitation for Hearts, you can say that again for sure. And then on 81 minutes, we get McKeown for Hatate as well as Forrest for Jota. Now, McKeown came on for Hatate, and I'm always eager to see McKeown from the bench in the latter stages of matches because he's got good energy and he's got a great record for being involved in stuff. So my hopes for a second half goal kind of come onto the pitch with him. And we also seen the return of wee Jimmy Forrest, which was great to see. And he went on to the left, which I found interesting. We kept Yang on the right because, again, I'm kind of the belief that Yang's natural spot where he wants to play is on the left. But and we know Forrest is a right winger predominantly. But again, we've seen it with Rodgers before where he wants the wingers to come inside with their service, drive incisively in the pitch at times. So by playing Forrest left and Yang on the right, especially against a back five, and you're then maybe asking your likes AJ and Schlupp, should the opportunity present themselves to go overlapping and crossing and swinging from these kind of positions. I get the kind of the pathway that's kind of tried to be going there, but I found it surprising all the same. It's great to see Forrest on, and it was kind of right in front of me the second half. He did quite okay. Didn't really look like he'd missed a beat, and maybe could have done a little bit better in 1 or 2 moments, but it was a really good performance overall. And then the final thing that happened is one Forrest come on the pitch, and then what happens once one Forrest comes on the pitch, another one has to join him. Alan Forrest comes on for sugar. There we go. For Kabungu. And I'm not really too sure where he went, to be honest with you. I think he might have went on right here. And I'm not too sure what they were even doing at this point, to be honest with you, in terms of shape or whatever. This was an 86-minute sub, but it was just batten down the hatches and try and keep it tight for us. And I'm not really too much else that's on the tip of my tongue to bring to you from the match. Let's say I've not did. I listened to Brendan's post-match press conference. I caught the first 20 minutes of Axon before the train went under the tunnel. I've not really caught anything else. I'm sure Sports Scene will be on tonight. I'll maybe catch that to see if I've missed anything. And we can maybe caveat this or maybe flavour it somewhat thereafter. But I do like to give you my opinions, my breakdown is kind of the whole point of the, not the whole point, but a big point of the content that we do here. And yeah, I just thought with the editor partying away in Newcastle, we would just run through this to the best of my ability live with you. And if there's any hot takes you want to throw into the mix, we can chat them over as well. So fire them into the live chat. Happy to take a wee bit very disciplined performance. Yeah, Ryan, I would go along with that. Like professional, disciplined, like we made no mistakes. They did test us. There was moments where, like, let's say the first goal is what made this game. Because if they got it, like they were set up to have a match, like really. And the Hearts fans, oh God, me, by the way, like if I closest thing to Rangers fans is Hearts fans, isn't it? And oh yeah, beating them, scoring goals against them was brilliant. But I was right next to the Hearts fans again. Similar seat to what I had for Bayern. And yeah, I could really hear everything they were saying. It just was not totally a fun experience. The next thing we like to do in the breakdowns is go over the player ratings. Okay, now I'll actually show you some of my lineups and stuff like that as well. But while I'm getting the player ratings on and going through the statistics of the game, for who did well and all the rest of it, you're going to be surprised at a few of the winners on this one. I can see the stats already. But while I'm doing that, hot takes and talking points you want me to go through, fire them into the live chat. And then once I went through the stats, the match ratings, we can go backwards to go forwards with that together, which should be good fun. So, yeah, we won 3-0. Man of the match in the stadium was Daizen Maeda with his 2 goals. Now, I can see why you give him it, right? Hard not to give the guy that scores 2 goals, could have had a hat-trick, the man of the match. He had a good game. He got 70 out of 100. That's mainly down to his 2 goals, guaranteeing him a minimum rating because of how effective he was. 14 passes, only 1 of them were missed. He only won 1 duel, lost 4. Not too sure how accurate that is. 2 shots on target, 1 a dribble, 1 ball into the box. Big chance missed. That will be the header that Gordon kind of saved and then Jota tapped in. That's a bit harsh, but I think on XG, I don't think I know that this big chance missed is based on XG. So Daizen picks up a BCM. But the top rated player and who my man of the match would have been is Calum McGregor. I thought like he did everything very well in this game today. He won the ball back, travelled up the pitch, made the goal. Could have made another couple of chances as well, like we spoke about. And not only that, it's maybe hard to give the man of the match to somebody that plays 64 minutes, right? But like so much left the team when he left the pitch. Like we didn't really talk about that in the tactics board, but really like that was the big, really from when Calum McGregor left, it felt like rotation, it felt like backup, even with Jota and Kuhn and Maeda and all that still on the pitch. When McGregor came off, it did feel like, it did feel like backup squads kind of vibes. Job done. It's very rare. The captain's the first sub. It's very rare. We only make 1 sub at 64 minutes as well. And he would have been my man of the match. He rated 89.3 out of 100 on this one. He was fouled twice. He got a clean sheet, obviously, that we know about. 7 possession, 1, only 2 lost is lovely. Only entered into 3 duels, but he won 2 of them. 2 interceptions, 66 accurate passes, only 1 missed pass, which is beautiful. Nice penetration into the final third, but accurate final third balls, long balls into the opposition. And general accurate long balls. 1 shot on target, 1 big chance created, an attempted assist, penalty area entry. And he got his assist for the opening goal for Daizen Maeda. He could have had a little bit more in terms of decisive actions. And he was the top rated player for Celtic today. The second highest rated player today for Celtic was big Maik Nawrocki, or Nawrocki to some of you guys out there. He rated out 85 out of 100. And his performance today gets 10 points for the clean sheet, of course. He did give away 2 fouls, which, the ref, do we need to talk about that? I don't know. 10 effective clearances, which is really eye-catching. 1 tackle and 3 blocks. And I think a lot of that would have been first half action. 123 passes, only 2 missed passes in the entire match. 15 long balls into the opposition. 2 of them reached the final third. 1 get categorized as just an accurate long ball. 8 duels won, 1 lost. In possession, 1 and losses at 2 apiece. So firmly a strong, positive contributor on the ball today. No attacking output. He went up for all the corners, and I was crossing my fingers at every one of them that he was going to get on the end of it, because we don't get enough centre-backs scoring goals. And I think Vickers has got 1 or 2. Vickers isn't one of those guys. Scales started to be one of those guys, didn't he, before the emergence of Trusty. Has Trusty scored? I think he has. Trusty scored a goal, but that's it. So when defenders are going up, I'm always kind of willing them to, like, come on, someone start scoring goals for us, you know. So Big Mike, very positive contributor on the ball. If we can compare and contrast him for a second to Vickers in terms of the possession statistics, 128 passes for Vickers. So it's not like this is just stat padding on the passes, because like you can see, he's got 3 missed passes, and the overall quality of where they've went isn't quite the same here. For the most part, he's got 1 tackle, 1 3 effective clearances, no blocks. A clean sheet bonus there as well. Big Vic was fine today. But he's just not a ball playing centre back, essentially, is the point here. The 3rd highest rated player for Celtic on the day was Nicolas Kuhn, who again was in good shape, good form in this one. And he was fouled once. Excuse me. He did give away 2 fouls, it seems. 1 tackle, 1, which for a wide player is always a great statistic to catch. Duels won and lost, high volume, low success percentage, which is not good, but he is getting involved in a lot. 9 duels lost, 6-1 out of a combined 15. 16 accurate passes, 12 of them were in the final third. He did miss 4 passes, so crosses the keeper caught or went for a goal kick. I don't think that's bad at all. I think that's actually pretty good going numbers-wise. He did lose possession 12 times, and for wide players, 12 is... the closer you can get to 10 and under on possession lost for fullbacks and for wide forwards like this, the better. So 12 is like an amber. That's like decent. We don't mind that. And then when we look at attack, 1 shot on target, 4 contests won, which is like a dribble, like taking somebody out of the equation. 4 of them for him. 2 big chances created, 2 attempted assists, 3 penalty area entries. 78 out of 100 for wee Nicolas Kuhn. The next up, it would have been Jota, who came in with 71.7 out of 100. And Captain Jota till I die for me. He was fouled, which gets him a point, which is good, winning a free kick. We basically got no free kicks in this match, it felt like. Only 2 duels won. They didn't lose any. 17 possession loss for Jota. So, like I was saying with Kuhn, like, you don't want them to get over 20. You know, 17 is like an orangey amber. Like, we're getting into the red zone. Not quite where we want it to be, but it's probably just within acceptable margins. 10 of them were missed passes. 21 accurate balls in the final third. And then when we get to the attacking stage, he's got 1 shot on target, which would have been his goal. An attempted assist, 5 balls into the box. Really good winger shift there from Jota, which is lovely to see. Anyone else that's worth a mention? I suppose, since he's normally a topic of conversation, we'll pop on Arne Engels to see what his contribution was. He was fouled 4 times. Yeah, quite a strong figure in the middle of the pitch. 2 effective clearances, 34 passes, 8 of them were missed, 17 possession lost. For a central player, that is quite high. But 7 duels won, only 2 lost. Like, he was a strong figure in the middle of the pitch. 7 passes were in the final third, and he does take corners and stuff. I know there wasn't many of them. 1 attempted assist, 8 balls into the box. So, yeah, quite a quiet game, I thought, for Engels. Like, he was fine. Like, you know, I'm not getting on him or anything, but just, yeah, on the quiet side. Did we look at all of Vickers' stats, or just as... Yeah, we did. If we have a wee look, before we get to the goalkeeper, we'll check out the fullbacks. Actually, Hatate has actually got a really low score in this game, 36 out of 100, the one of the lowest in the starting 11. And I think he kind of suffered a little bit today from just like not getting anything really in the final third. It's somehow he's not won a duel. That's not correct. So that will need Opta review these scores. It's normally more accurate when we do the video because it's given them 24 hours to review the scores. So this might change for Hatate. I highly suspect it will, because he had a better game than what this shows quite clearly. Even on numbers, there's some things that I can see are missing from what I've seen of the match. I did also have Arne Engels down as having a clearance off the line within the first 10 minutes as well, which hasn't been counted. And, you know, between Carter Vickers, I think he had 2 attempts in the first in the game that could have been last man tackles. But Sinisalo, by the way, I forget who it was, but somebody was one-on-one with him, and he maybe last man tackled somebody today, Sinisalo. He leaves the game with a rating of 69.7 out of 100. He gets 60 points guaranteed for the clean sheet, of course. So anything that can be in the 70 realm or above is a good goalkeeping performance. He's like a thread under that, so I'm going to give this as a strong pass mark. But 2 saves, 2 from inside the box, which I'll need to see the replays of to fully appreciate. 43 accurate passes, 6 of them were missed. Schmeichel maybe misses 2 or 3 a game on average, sometimes none. So really high standard, really high bar set there. But yeah, like I thought it did okay. 6 possession lost. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. All of them are missed passes. Those long balls I was talking about when we had the tactics board on earlier. And yeah, that was him. AJ, if we can have a wee peek at him, we've got clean sheet bonus for him. He was fouled once, gave away 2 fouls on top of that. in possession, 79 passes, 12 missed passes, 16 possession lost. Yeah, this is okay, isn't it? I think 47 out of 100 is probably about fair, just about pass marks, about halfway. Not that great, nothing super amazing. Identical score to Jeffrey Schlupp, it would seem. He had a big chance missed, we just seen there. We spoke about that earlier. But 3 tackles won for Jeff, 7 effective clearances. Jules won 5 over 4 lost, which is good. 83 passes for him, 12 missed passes, which, for a wide player like these numbers, they're okay. They're kind of just about acceptable. Shot on target, dribbled into the box, big chance missed. You know the rest. And that was the starting 11. No one from the bench really done anything of note, did they? I've had a wee peek at Bernardo because he got a significant amount of minutes. No tackles won, Jules lost, or one around flat. Just a bit of passing, really, isn't it? Nothing really into the final third. And that was the statistics, how they left it. And guys, dare I put this on screen? They won 4-3 in the end. Jesus Christ, by the way. Jesus Christ. What minute did they score that? 93rd minute. Oh, I knew that. I thought that made it 3 each. Oh, I'm tripping. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that did make it. Oh, they got an OG in the first half. Just the way I'm reading that there, I was like, where's their 4th goal? Sinisalo 1-on-1. Yeah, it was fine, wasn't he? A lot of, you can see he's got a high ceiling. He could be, very good. I think you've seen that today. The striker pulled out with a challenge, Quinny. Yeah, but it's still statistically it could still be a tackle because it's his possession. Or maybe it's an interception. It would go down as, did they get an interception? Oh, he's not going to, no, you wouldn't see that here, would you? Oh, you would? No interception. Yeah, Jules won. That's not been caught. He's definitely getting something for that, I think. We don't get tackling here, do we? No. Sweeper, keeper, nothing. He definitely deserves credit for that statistically. I thought CCV struggled a bit with the Hearts front man. Yeah, he did. Kabungu, definitely had his number. But the ref gave everything. It was wild. The guy was diving for 3 or 4 of them. And but yeah, I think you're quite right. Scales is the best of the bunch on set pieces. I'm with you there. He's Nawrocki. He's solid. Polish power. Love it. Get involved. McGregor's this are we talking about? The Hearts chance when Clancy obstructed one of our players. Yeah. Oh, do you know what's brilliant, by the way? One of the goals, Clancy gets nutmegged in the build-up for it. I don't know if you'll see it in the highlight packages. It maybe be something that would be on Sports Scene or something like that. But Clancy gets nutmegged in the build-up for one of the goals. And there was a funny drop ball. So there was 2 drop ball situations where he touched the ball and he was trying to tell Hatate and Daizen not to contest it. And they're like, no, we're going to contest it. And then they did contest it, and then he brought it back and made them not. It was mental. And then there was another one in the second half. So yeah. Yeah, Clancy was wild today for sure. And yeah, we came out unscathed. We came out with a clean sheet, good goals. I think we would have liked a second half performance, but I think given the fact that it really went into the second string, second half almost, that kind of vibe. It was, we said it before, confident, professional, disciplined performance. And yeah, great result for the Hoops. Great ratings for them all. Now, I'll finish off. I know I sometimes cover this on the show, sometimes or on the streams. Just depends how we're getting on. But I had a fair few full Celtic fantasy football teams going out trying to win me some cash this weekend. Sadly, didn't quite absolutely smash it. I get big scores, obviously, for Captain Jota everywhere, like you do. Double goals with the strikers was great to see, but sadly, no defender, midfielder really came together for me. Sinisalo was cool. I've got Daizen Maeda, but with James Rodriguez and some other cool guys from around the world, so maybe that will still pan out okay for me. This one, oh, no way. I thought they won 5-0. Did Kilmarnock score? Took away my clean sheet on my Zach Hemming there. That's a gutter. And yeah, not much to write home about for the most part. Little bits and bobs, but we wait for next weekend where hopefully we get a much more complete performance from the Hoops as we roll on through the week. We'll have a scouting video out on Wednesday as well, of course, and we'll have previewing and reaction stuff going on as we always do. And I think there might be something else in the works for this week. I forget there's something in the back of my head where it's like, yeah, there's something else on this week, but we'll have the CSC, we'll have the Thursday night preview stream 7:30 this week, so watch out for that. We'll have the Wednesday show at 5 o'clock, so watch out for that. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell in case we come on live. We do some other stuff, release some other content in between times. Otherwise, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've been here for actually an hour. I thought I was only going to do this in 30 minutes or so. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in live and loud, of course. Hail, hail. Moan the hoops. Have a great weekend.